And then about 9, 10 years ago, Systema came into your life specifically to kind of fill that missing piece.
Yeah, like it's weird. I had sought out because I kept on going from practitioner to practitioner in terms of like, but I wasn't in it for a belt. Like I got tired of seeing 9 year olds, 10 year olds, 11 year olds get black belts, right? And I'm not saying that as a criticism. If you own a martial arts dojo, it's important to support and encourage young people. It's important to stay employed. It's very hard. I think it's one of the hardest professions, or I would say businesses, to be in a martial arts, studio and to run that well. So anybody, there are
Why do you think
people.
that is?
I just think it's hard. It's hard to retain people's interests. It's hard to retain people's interests. It's hard to get people to show up and to train with you long term, because remember, people do it for a season. I mean, a lot of in the United States, most of the martial arts schools you'll go to, they have a large number of young people. But it's a young person's game. Like you see people up to 30, and then it's either you're an instructor or you're doing inner martial arts, right? So more like inner katas or forms, but you're not, or you're the instructor or you're the business owner. And it doesn't mean that that's, again, I don't run a martial arts studio, but I have high respect for people doing that. But I didn't want to just get another belt. Again, like I didn't even know what I wanted until I met different people, and I think it was a fruit of prayer, and God put the right people in my life. But I got into Aikido, right? Aikido was one of my favorite martial arts, and then that's
Sure,
how I
and
jumped off.
and just to contextualize for people, Aikido stems from Japan.
Yep.
One thing that's so fascinating about, again, getting into the philosophy of this, or getting into the lineage, because that's really what it is. It's a lineage of
story.
it's passing down tradition over the generations. We've thrown out a number of different ones throughout this conversation, but you mentioned Wing Chun at a certain point. That was invented by Ip Man, who was around.
No, he brought it. He brought it to forefront, but I think that it's 500 years old.
Oh wow, okay.
And the
So
story,
he popularized it.
he did, and he was an excellent practitioner. We were talking about Donnie Yen, right?
Yeah,
Earlier
yeah,
today.
yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with Donnie Yen. He
No.
was tank. So
Well,
remember,
that's why it's funny. We were talking offline today, and you
Yeah.
were like, "Yeah, apparently in his 20s, something happened, and he had to engage, and there were 6 people that got hospitalized as a result of that."
Yeah.
And then you were talking about your dad, and
Yeah,
like
it wasn't him.
fighting 6 people. That's why I had to ask the question.
I don't think he was not very. I don't think he was skillful about it. But
Vero at
apparently
an
he was
old
still-
age.
Well,
To
it
have
was
you.
when he was a young. Well, he was a young man, and he was a wild man, right? So.
But so there's
yeah.
Wing Chun, and then Ip Man in his elder years trained up briefly Bruce Lee. So here in America, a lot of people know about Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee took Wing Chun, a feminine martial art, by the way, and then developed Jeet Kune Do out of that. I read that book back in my early 20s, and that Bruce Lee wrote on that, and
that's a
I
great
just
book.
absolutely love it. And because you utilize a lot of, because I went far east before my complete conversion to Catholicism, and when I was big into Buddhism and stuff, in the Rinzai school of Zen Buddhism, they're big on koans.
Yeah.
And with koans, you stretch your mind utilizing these paradoxical phrases. And Bruce Lee was big on that. So utilizing a different way of thinking to try to, and they have different purposes. Sometimes it's to systematize all of the different faculties in your body and to synergize them as one. Other times it's to kind of disconnect them or disassociate them so that you can engage the practice more efficiently. And that's what's so powerful, because it all comes back to mindset.
Well, it does, and like you said, like there isn't. But again, like, why are we training? I guess that's the question always. Why are we training?
Yes.
Are we training for a belt? Are we training to win a contest? And like you said, like in all of these different forms, they were brought forth by people. In all forms of martial arts that I've ever encountered, except for Systema, the fighting stance is that the hands go up. Because fear leaves the body through the hands. So if you see a little kid fall or you fall on the ground, your hands will go up, because fear leaves the body usually through the hands. So the hands go up, whoa, whatever it is, right? You gotta do it. Right? But you same thing with boxing. When I teach people boxing, like, you got to bring your hands up. But there's an immediate tension and conflict. And what I saw with Aikido was I saw that starting to be removed. Aikido means the art of harmonizing peace, right? And so Aikido,
Who wouldn't want that?
Who wouldn't want that? And it's very, honestly, there's a lot of overlaps, like you said, with Zen and Christianity. And there was a lot of people that were Kakiro Christo, which were like the remnant Christian people that they would say it was connected to, like in terms of their Zen philosophy, old Christian beliefs that they didn't understand because of the obviously the great apostasy through Japan. But you'll look at a lot of the Aikido principles.
Yeah, there's a lot of Shinto in Japan today.
Yeah, there's a lot of, but you know, there's a lot of unique practices. So when I studied Aikido, you can see God if you have a relationship with Christ. You'll see God in whatever you're doing, whether it's work, you're doing coaching, or whether you're putting together a movie, or whether you're a doctor, whether you're teaching kids in a school, whether you're a stay-at-home mom. It doesn't matter. You'll see God, and so you start to see God in these different forms of martial arts. Right, and you see Christ in Aikido. Terry Dobson, one of my favorite. Terry Dobson is the guy who brought Aikido into the United States primarily. Right, so after Vietnam, Terry Dobson was a giant Marine. I think he was like 6'4", looked like Santa Claus. You can go on YouTube and listen to his stories. He is a funny guy, but again, you see a whole person. You see an integrated person. So something was correct, but I don't know if it was necessarily. Again, there are no perfect disciples, and I don't think it's Aikido that does it. I think, remember, like we've talked about this before, it's a relationship with God and Christ, whether people know him by name or not.